Hello, Aloha Pa, the Baha'i greeting to all the people of the world. Tonight I'm going to continue the discussion on the matter of the universal government. Collection of some of the words of Shoghi Effendi, very important. And before that, I have to say today is 19th, time is 11:08. I had written in the past that on a part of the book that's on the website, a look at the Baha'i Faith and the Universal House of Guardianship. In previous to that, I think some 16 years ago, I wrote this book, a final episode of the Covenant of Baha'u'llah. At the end of it, there's a chapter called An Outlook of the Future of the World. So I'm going to be just reading that for you. There's not a lot of changes that I can do to this, what I've written 16 years ago. And it goes like this. The single most important feature of the Baha'i world order is that its scope is global and all-inclusive of the citizen of the earth. Globalism which does not sacrifice any regional right or national existence. For this magnificent goal of uniting the world order under one universal government. The global view of humanity in the Baha'i Faith is an organic one. It is as if a human body made out of billions of cells which are separated by the walls of the membrane. Every single human being has his or her own freedom, a freedom that is shared with others. Therefore, it is about sharing the freedom and not giving it up. In the same manner, in this universal government of the world, a city or a province is not reduced to a lesser degree, but enhanced to a higher and more permanent state. In the Baha'i world order, the world is explained as one wholesome being consisting of innumerable units, each one unique and different from others. Based on this view, we Baha'is believe any social mandate lacking the inclusiveness of all the people of the earth would be ineffective. The most pronounced difference of the Baha'i world order with any international movement is that not only do we include all the people in the world, but we also include all the dimensions of one single individual. We address mankind in its entirety as interconnected and interdependent. Therefore, to us, the economical, social, and spiritual dimension of a person is all one problem with many dimensions. Therefore, we address the issue of the comfort and the happiness of man fully, wholly, and completely. Therefore, this world order addresses minor problems such as washing one's hand and teeth and cleaning and balancing the ecosystem of our planet. It explains the inner peace of the individual most intensively, while it takes the greatest measures ever to organize people of the earth under one system of unity in diversity. This extensive limit taken to organize all the needs of a human being has definitely made Baha'i world order one of a kind. Following 1844, the appearance of the Baha'i Faith, there have been several attempts to bring about a world view of the human society, uniting it into one worldwide community. The most important one of them has been the materialistic view of some genius of our time that led to the communist parties, with the same considerable spread in our century. The communist philosophies, which were based on the science of the time, lacked the perceiving power to sustain its future. Therefore, As science changed, philosophy corrupted in spite of the eradications of the millions of its dissidents. There has been some continental effort, which has spread in certain nations, but has all the universal features of a global idea. The most important one of them is that of the United States of America. The democratic revolutions in the Western countries, which remain imperfect but have the regenerating power to correct itself, like the phoenix rising out of its ashes. The best example is the Civil War of the United States of America. Looking back to the history of mankind, religions have been the main organizers of mankind and responsible for the foundations of many nations. Christianity, with its young and shortly founder Jesus Christ, not only has united the people of one country, but many countries and new nations have been formed, which in return has created the greatest painters, musicians, and architects. Islam is responsible for a great chunk of civilization. Both the Middle East and North Africa have produced some magnificent philosophers, scientists, and poets. Religions of the past, being the greatest binding power of mankind, is nevertheless essentially too primitive to deal with the global problems of man today. Their philosophy was based on not being understandable, which at that time was considered a sign of profound and wise philosophy. Still at this time, their clergies theorized ambiguous thoughts and extraordinary miracles to explain their so-called truth. This is largely due to a number of people believing if some ideas cannot be understood and explained scientifically, such ideas must be regarded as deep and profound. Ironically, when some brilliant and courageous individuals uncover these ambiguities and unveil the sources of these groundless ideas and beliefs, the clergies accuse them of being disruptors and faithless. Whereas the Baha'i philosophy is governed with the perpetual explanation of science and reason, scientists are the policeman of the clergies and disinfectant of the rotten ideas. Religions of the past did not have such solid social principles as explained by the Baha'i Faith. The right of man, with reference to his color, was ill-defined, causing a slavery in Christian country, and the superiority of man over women, with only half a right for women. This is in turn a sound principle of Islamic religion. Thusly, it has caused the shutdown of the female power in Islamic countries, resulting in the drawback of these nations compared to those of the Western people. In the Baha'i Faith, the freedom of the individual has been very well defined with a reference to their colors, religions, nationalities, races, and ethnicities, and genders. Even the right of the children, animals, and complete ecosystem have been explained and specified. In addition, social dimensions are explained, organized, and systematized with the great affinities to the legacies of the past, namely democracy, autocracy, theocracy, and aristocracy. Previously, religions lacking the doctrine of the successorship and a conspicuous system for their organization have resulted in man-made organizations, causing tremendous confusions for nations. These documents in the Baha'i Faith which are called covenant, clearly explains the matter of successorship. Furthermore, Baha'u'llah has left us with two institutions of guardianship and universal house of justice. The former work like the Senate and the latter is the legislature, which can be commonly found in the most modernized country. They both have complete roots in the national, local, as well as the world. In summary, the Baha'i philosophy, the Baha'i principles, the Baha'i laws, the Baha'i covenant, and the Baha'i world order have made this cause of God peerless in all the history of mankind. I challenge my dear reader to find anything like it proposed by anyone in our contemporary time. In fact, if one patches all the ideas of the past and the present together to duplicate such a glorious cause, which would still be an impossible challenge. Baha'i Faith is a creation of God based on the evolution of the necessities of mankind. The greatest testimony for this fact is the formation of the countries such as Canada and United States of America. These countries are formed based on an ideology and social strata indirectly recommended by Baha'u'llah. These are some of their extraordinary affinities with the Baha'i Faith: equality of the right of men and women, lawful eradications of racism, equal opportunities for people of all color, languages, ethnicities, and religions background, and greatness of the freedom and guarantees of the freedom for the individuals, that they not be overwhelmed by the system of the government. I proudly and joyfully acknowledge the North American civilization. It is a definite pattern for the unity of the world to be followed by the rest of the nations. Understanding, however, this is not an ultimate but a transitional stage and the metamorphosis of the present system into a new one. While the United States of America was being formed in the Western Hemisphere, in the Eastern Hemisphere, the conglomerated theory of God called Baha'i Faith was being revealed. If one studies the Baha'i Faith and its world order, one can find how naturally the formation of the United States of America is a definite stage to reach the ultimate goal of the Baha'u'llah's world order. It is as if Baha'i Faith is the full menu recommended by all the people of the earth to be created by God. Therefore, Baha'i Faith is the meeting ground of God with man. It is a confirmation of God that mankind is growing up. It is the rendering power of God to the hands of people, which the infallibility of the universal house of justice as its greatest evidence. The system that is elected democratically by mankind. Here is a picture drawn and described by Shoghi Effendi, a panoramic view of the planet Earth, reconditioned by the New World Order of Baha'u'llah. The Guardian describes it like the rise of the phoenix out of its ashes. Our planet shall give birth a new system, fueled by two opposing destructive and constructive powers. Quote, "We stand on the threshold of an age whose convulsions proclaim alike the death pangs of the old order and the birth pangs of the new. Through the new generating influences of the faith announced by Baha'u'llah, this new world order may be said to have been conceived." World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 169, end quote. Quote, "A twofold process, however, can be distinguished, each tending in its own way and within an accelerated momentum to bring to a climax the forces that are transforming the face of our planet. The first is essentially and integrating process, while the second is fundamentally disruptive. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 170, and quote. The Guardian, while explaining the maturity of mankind, at the same time rightfully criticizes the disintegrating leadership of its statesmen. Quote, no scheme which the calculations of the highest statesmen may yet devise, no doctrine which the most extinguished components of the economic theory may hope to advance, no principles which the most ardent of the moralists may strive to inculcate, can provide in the last resort adequate foundations upon which the future of distracted world can be built. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 34, end quote. Quote, the long ages of infancy and childhood, through which the human race had to pass, have receded into the background. Humanity is now experiencing the commotion invariably associated with the most turbulent age of its evolution, the stage of adolescence, when the impetuosity of the youth and its vehemence reach their climax and must gradually be superseded by the calmness, the wisdom, and the maturity that characterizes the stage of manhood. Then, would the human race reach that stature of the ripeness which will enable it to acquire all the powers and capacities upon which its ultimate development must depend. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 202, end quote. The lack of leadership and proper ideology for a growing mankind makes it impossible not to accept this cause of God. Here is what Guardian says, quote, what else might we confidently affirm but an reserved acceptance of the divine program enunciated with such simplicity and forces as far as back 60 years ago by Baha'u'llah. Within bracket I wrote now 100 years, that was 15 years ago, bracket end, continue quotation, embodying in its essentials God's divinely appointed scheme for the unifications of mankind in this age, in its age. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 34, end quote. Shoghi Effendi explains that nothing short of divine standard in its completeness and fullness can unify the world. Quote, no machinery falling short of the standard inculcated by the Baha'i revelation and at variance with the sublime pattern ordained in his teachings, which the collective effort of mankind may yet devise, can ever hope to achieve anything above or beyond that lesser peace. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 162, end quote. Continue quotation. The most great peace, on the other hand, as conceived by Baha'u'llah, a peace that must inevitably follows as the practical consequences of the spiritualization of the world and the fusion of all its races, creeds, classes, and nations, can rest on no other basis and can be preserved through no other agencies except the divinely appointed ordinances that are implicit in the world order that stands associated with his holy name. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 162, end quote. Here, in the following, we see Shoghi Effendi explaining the Baha'i Faith as the only solution for the disorganized world. He defends this station as nothing comparable to what we know. Here is what he says, quote, refusing to be labeled as a mere philosophy of life or as an eclectic code of ethical conduct or even as a new religion. The faith of Baha'u'llah is now visibly succeeding in demonstrating its claim and title to be recognized as a world religion destined to attain, in the fullness of time, the status of a world-embracing commonwealth, which would be at once the instrument, and the guardians of the most great peace, announced by its author. Far from waiting to add to the number of the religious system whose conflicting loyalties for so many generations disrupted the people of mankind, the peace of mankind. World War of Baha'u'llah, page 196, end quotation, continuing quotations. The faith with which the followers of Baha'u'llah stand identified is one which they firmly believe God has raised high above the storms, the divisions and controversies of the political arenas. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 198, and quotations. Continuing quotations. Quote, their faith Baha'is firmly believe is moreover undenominational, non-sectarian, and wholly divorced from every ecclesiastical system, whatever its form, origin, or activities. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 199, end quote. Here we have Shoghi Effendi explaining the positions of the Baha'i Faith in the following. Quote, it should also be borne in mind that the machinery of the cause has been so fashioned that whatever is deemed necessary to incorporate into it, in order to keep it in the forefront of all the progressive movement, can, according to the provisions made by Baha'u'llah, be safely embodied therein. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 22 and 23, end quotation. Continuing quotation, quote, let there be no misgiving. As the animating purpose of the worldwide law of Baha'u'llah, far from aiming at the subversion of the existing foundations of society, it can conflict with no legitimate allegiances, nor can it undermine essential loyalties, nor to abolish the system of national autonomy so essential if the evils of the excessive centralizations are to be avoided. It does not ignore, nor does it attempt to suppress the diversity of ethnic origins. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 41, end quote. Continue quotation, quote, the revelations of which Baha'u'llah is the source and center abrogates none of the relations that have preceded it, nor does it attempt in the slightest degree to distort their features or to belittle their values. It can in no wise conflict with the spirit that animates their claims, nor does it seek to undermine the basis of any man's allegiances to the cause. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 57 and 58, in quotations. The Guardian then explains the chief goal of the New World Order of Baha'u'llah in the following, quote, unification of the whole of mankind is the hallmark of the stage of which human society is now approaching. Unity of the family, or the tribe, or city, state, and nations have been successfully attended and fully established. World unity is the goal towards which a harassed humanity is striving. Again, in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 202, end quotations. Among many thousands of recommendations to the individual and society that has been made by the authors of the Baha'i Faith, Shoghi Effendi gives the explicit, clear, and indisputable example of such goal that has been achieved in the region of North America, a nation that in reality represents all the races of the people of the earth. Quote, such a unique and momentous crisis in the life of the organized mankind may moreover be likened to the culminating stage in the political evolution of the great American Republic. The stage which marked the emergence of a unified community of federated states, continuing, and the birth of a new type of civilization, infinitely richer and nobler than any which its component part could have severally hoped to achieve. Continuing, this consummation may be viewed as the culminations of the process of human government. No stage above and beyond this consummations of the national unity can, within the geographical limits of that nation, be imagined. Though the highest destiny of its people as a constituent element and a still larger entity that will embrace the whole of mankind may still remain unfulfilled. Considered as an isolated unit, however, this process of integration may be said to have reached its highest and finest final consummations, such as the state to which an evolving humanity is collectively approaching. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 165 and 166. Shoghi Effendi compares the initiating process of the foundations of the Baha'i Faith in Iran with those initiatives taken to embark the initiations of the new World Order of Baha'u'llah in the United States of America. Quote, for great as have been the attainment and unforgettable services of the pioneers of the heroic age of the cause in Persia, the contribution which their spiritual descendants, the American believers, the champion builders of the organic structures of the cause, are now making towards the fulfillment of the plan, which must usher in the golden age of the cause, is no less meritorious in its strenuous period of its history. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 52 and 53. Continuing quotation, quote, the continent of the America, wrote Abdul Baha at the February 1917, is in the eyes of one true God the land, wherein the splendors of his light shall be revealed, where the mysteries of his faith shall be unveiled, where the righteous will abide and the free will assemble. That the supporters of the cause of Baha'u'llah throughout the United States and Canada are increasingly demonstrating the truth of this solemn affirmation is evident to even a casual observer of a record of their manifold services, whether in their individual capacities or through their constructive endeavors. World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 53. End quotation. In addition to the disbelievers of the unifications of the world under one universal government, he brings the following argument, quote, "It would be indeed no exaggeration to say that the absence of those facilities which modern scientific processes place at the service of humanity in our time made of the problems of building the Americans, the state, into a single federation. Similar though they were in certain traditions, a task infinitely more complex than that which confronts divided humanity in its effort to achieve the unifications of all mankind." World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 45, end quotation. The following are illustrations made by the divine pen of the guardian of a world unified by the World Order of Baha'u'llah with the leadership of the Universal House of Justice. Quotation. Quote, "Not only will the present day spiritual assemblies be styled differently in future, but they will be enabled also to add to their present function those powers, duties, and prerogatives necessitated by the recognition by the faith of Baha'u'llah, not merely as one of the recognized religions